Welcome to the Build It Better podcast powered by FrameCAD. I'm your host, Robert Johnson. And this week, we are going to have part 3 of our series on a journey through industrialized construction. This week, we're visiting with Kristal Howe, who is the Vice President of Construction for ICS, Industrialized Construction Services. And she is in Minneapolis. On a job site. I apologize in advance if you have a little trouble here and there hearing. She is doing the field reporter role for us in this episode. So it's really pretty cool to see this process from Jason and kind of his 30,000-foot view in episode 1, Matthew, when it really gets kind of into the weeds and what happens in design and the things that they do to make things better. And now you're going to get to see what happens when it all comes together, maybe in a rainy world, but we'll see. Let's jump out and visit with Kristal.
I am your host, Robert Johnson, and this is pretty cool. So first episode, we had Jason. Second episode, I recorded earlier today with Matthew in FrameCore's office in their manufacturing facility, and they were showing me pictures. And now I am with Kristal Howe, and you are also a co-founder, also a vice president, and what is it, VP of?
Prefab and Construction.
Okay. I never get them right, so it was like, okay, we'll just go with it, and whatever it is, it is. Welcome. I hate the fact that you are in the rain. It was kind of part of our plan was to do this and get to walk around a site, which is okay. We're still going to we'll get some. I'll make you get out in the rain here before too long.
And it might pass pretty soon. It's really slowing down. It was only supposed to be about a 20-minute rain delay, and hopefully these guys will get rolling again, and we'll be able to get some shots as well.
Good. Where are you at exactly again?
We are up in St. Anthony, Minnesota. It's right outside of the St. Paul area, and we're delivering one of the first 2 pilots for a new retail client of ours.
Okay. So to take this full circle, we spoke with Jason, who kind of gave us that 30,000-foot, look of what ICS, Industrialized Construction Services. We will always refer to it as ICS from this point on. I won't say that because I'm going to mess up and call it integrated or something. But
that's fair.
So that, and speaking with Matthew, got a better feel for what happens and what he's looking at on the architectural engineering side. And then it was just really cool to be able to bring the whole thing together and you be the big grand finale. So it's all on your shoulders of what actually happens and how it really turns into a real construction project. These panels were fabricated where? What state?
Commerce City, Colorado, right outside of Denver.
Okay.
About 600 miles from here.
Can I mention the name?
Sure.
Of your fabricators? It was Douglas Colony, wasn't it?
Okay, it was. Douglas Colony did this one and the other pilot project for us that landed in Ankeny, Iowa, just north of Des Moines, a couple weeks ago. Okay,
and the reason I bring that up is Joe Doxey was a guest on the previous couple of episodes to your stuff. So, very neat. What do you think? You're a construction person. Does this beat traditional framing?
I have to say, without a hesitation, this beats traditional construction framing. Schedule-wise, quality-wise, safety-wise. The other project that this same general contractor is building 20 minutes from here, I visited yesterday when I had some downtime. Their framing took 28 days. This project should be framed out in 6, 7. So same exact prototype, same contractor, same framing crew, and prefab off-site, mobilize, get these guys in here and knock it out and keep going.
But there's so many other things but it's not just, I tend to, because I'm a cold form steel person and a wall panel truss person, I tend to think on the structure, but there's so much more that goes into the industrializing of the process than just the structure. Were you also the SEOR, the structural engineer of record on this project?
We are. And through that effort, what we look at isn't just what we touch from a manufactured standpoint. We look at the entire project in its entirety.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, exactly. We, obviously start with the foundations all the way up, and we take their prototype building, prototype in quotes because they're all a little different.
Sure.
And we really try to optimize the entire system, make it a little bit more efficient, make it a little bit easier to, for the entire construction phase. And then when we bring in our prefabricated structural core and shell kit, it really does accelerate the schedule so that you can get your additional subtrades mobilized quicker. And sometimes those installs go a little bit more efficiently as well. And you learn those things throughout the process and throughout the schedule duration of project number one. And then you just apply those to the next one and the next one. And it's just rinse and repeat. And it becomes more and more efficient building number 10 versus building number 1. And you really catch additional optimization as we roll out the pilots.
Yeah. One of the things that I guess that really has always impressed me with ICS in particular is that it's so much more than just sitting in a room and drawing, or sitting in an office and drawing and producing drawings, whether they be architectural or engineering, is that you folks really have worked hard to understand the process, not just the engineering, but what happens when you fabricate, manufacturing, what's happening in the facility, what are the limitations you have to worry about there, optimizing for that. Also, what's happening in the field. Is it a small site, big site? What's it mean for shipping? All of those things come into play when you're designing the structure, when you're just designing the project. Well, go ahead.
I would say it even comes into consideration when we're picking out which sites to run the pilots on. Obviously, if you have similar buildings, but your site has a little bit more space to kind of play around with, those are the ones that we'll run our pilots on. But if we have an infill site that we have to, stage logistically, our trucks coming in and pick and offload directly from the truck, those are things that we can adjust for as we roll these prototypes out.
Yeah.
So it's everything.
Yeah, we're talking about prototype construction, and which I think is where we see the really it's kind of the force multiplier of the benefits of prefabricated construction by getting national accounts, national customers that you do the same. You can have 5 or 6 different floor plans, whatever it would be. The efficiencies that are built into that, I mean, the win is massive. I say that because when I saw the picture of your site this morning, this is going to shock you. My first thing I said was, why all the structural steel? And Matthew said to me, ask her that question. And then he explained it to me. So we'll get a shot, whether it's through the window or outside in a bit. But why all the structural steel?
When we first engage with a client and try to optimize their prototype, we really try not to rock the boat too much. We drove, I think, 40% of the red iron out of this building already.
Okay, I want everybody to remember this.
Structural steel.
Yeah, remember this. 40% of the red iron out of the structure. It's how many square feet?
3,250.
Okay, so 3,250 square feet. All right.
Yes.
So 40% of the red iron is a massive number. But yeah, just wait until you get a peek.
There's still so much. It came from, there's an interior demising wall. We got the red iron out of that. That is all light gauge structural, all the way floor up to top of parapet. The interior trusses were I-beams. They're now bar joists, so it's still red iron, but the actual percentage is down a little bit. Spacing is spaced out a little bit further than what the I-beams were. But those were beefy I-beams that were in there the entire way, holding up your deck. And it just, I don't want to say it's unnecessary, but you can drive a lot of efficiencies into this building by limiting the amount of red iron that goes into it and converting it to light gauge.
Are they seeing that? Is the customer seeing this? I mean, are they starting to, they realizing it? And I understand that some of it was certainly that aspect of not rocking the boat and not being too much too quick. But it's surely when they are able to see that this thing, you started framing today, you started standing panels today, is that correct?
Yep.
So
yes,
when you say this will be done in 5 days, 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, something like that?
This one is going a little bit different. They don't have their slab poured, so essentially by tomorrow afternoon they will have the entire exterior framed. They will then fly in their bar joists, lay down their deck in another day or two, and then they'll remobilize their interior framing crew once the slab's poured, which then that duration should be 3 days. So
I'm curious then. So are the interior walls panelized as well?
They are. All the non-structural, non-load bearing interior walls are panelized. Ceiling panels, soffit panels, everything in here is a prefab product that just accelerates that install duration.
So I'm curious. I'm assuming then that there is ample space to get panels into the building, even in light of having the shell done. Are you leaving some panels out to accommodate, or?
We're leaving one panel out because there's an interior demising wall, so that we can get the back of house area mobilized in. But because of the storefront and the window openings that these guys have, there's plenty of room to get those interior panels in after the fact.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Very cool. So let's talk about the site. Is it a tight site? Do you have lay down room? Are you able to bring all the panels in before you got started?
This one, luckily, we do have lay down room, and it used to be a gas station. They had to do some remediation work before, obviously, these guys mobilized to start their construction, but there's ample room for lay down, even staging around the building to get their lull and forklift around the building. This crew opted not to use a crane. Most crews do, but it really is, up to means and methods by GC and their sub when it comes to their install.
Yeah. Okay. So they're using a regular reach fork or something and just strapping and pulling and flying them in. Some really, really fun stuff. And so here's where I think this gets really cool is that you folks handle from, I like to say, cradle to grave. I mean, you're going to be in it from the design, and in a perfect world, we're talking really early, before conception, and then you're taking it all the way through. Now, do you manage the project all the way through C of O?
We manage only essentially through completion of our install. It's then turned back over to the general contractor. We're there holding hands, coordinating very closely before we get to site, during site, which is why I'm out here. And then obviously, as any questions do arise with complications of someone wanted to move an HVAC rough, what do we do? We're there to help them move things around, do a different knockout somewhere, things like that as they continue on.
Yeah. And on all of this stuff is so very important in prefabricated construction, because what you're learning in the field while they're doing this will be used on the next one. And, you know what, in the future we need to punch a hole here, we need to move this stud here. And all of those things can be communicated back and forth. And in a prototype world, I mean, that's the win. Now, you're always going to have the one-off, maybe something you had to do, change a footprint just a little bit or something. But for the most part, you're going to be building the exact same thing in another location.
That is our goal. That is always the hope and goal.
Yeah, as long as the client lets you do that.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So what else? What exciting? Is there anything else exciting that you're working on that you can share with us?
From our side of it, it really is just adding a few more pilot projects for this client, building out and optimizing their design for a hopeful fully optimized prototype that can be delivered in roughly 80% of the country. I say 80% because there's 20,000 jurisdictions within the U.S. Obviously, everyone has their own little miscellaneous interpretation to the code.
Yeah.
So high seismic zones, higher wind zones, higher snow load zones, it can't be the exact same building, but in 80% of the country, it really can be. So that's what we are working on with this client, to learn from these pilots, circle back through, optimize a prototype, and start rolling that out with them.
So then when I think about prototypes, I think about things like where this would also be very beneficial, and I'm going to say names. Whether you're working with them or not is irrelevant to me. It's more just the thought in my mind. Any of the little fast food places, you see a lot of them are the same. They try to have the same footprint now. The McDonald's, the Burger King, the Salad and Go, the Crab Shack, whatever. All this stuff.
All of those.
These people, now I do know that there is, I want to say Rally's Hamburgers or somebody's does almost a modular thing, and I know Dutch Bros does a kind of a modular container-ish type building. But those are all perfect examples of prototypical construction that can be done in any number of places. Yeah, which is perfect for what you do.
We are working with another client that we went through the pilot phase, optimized a building for them, prototyped it, and contracted for multiple buildings without knowing their locations right away. So that's one thing that once we do actually get a prototype developed that can land in such a array of places, you really can contract for, this is your set price for this building, whether you're building it in Idaho or North Carolina. Here's what it's going to be. And It's really nice to have that knowledge of understanding your budget a year ahead of time to be able
corporately you could look at this thing a long time ago and figure all this out. That's where, besides all the benefits of building non-combustible and the builder's risk insurance and the ongoing property insurance, and Matthew and I discussed the fact that, it's even a bigger win for people that are build and hold, not build and sell, because those that are hanging on to it for the long term reap all these benefits that come through the second, third, fourth, fifth year of reaping these insurance savings. No maintenance, no termites, all the things that we talk about often. Very interesting stuff. Are you to the point where we could take a peek outside?
I think so. Let's jump out and see what we got going on. But as you can see, there's plenty of laydown space. Job trailer is up there. Some exterior panels that we are going to get to tomorrow are still staged out here. Let's see. That was just structural steel this morning, and we now have one side up. They started in this corner, and then they're working their way around the building there. But having the laydown space is very beneficial for what these guys can do as we're working through pilots, as it's a first-time install crew.
Yeah, are the panels, so it looks like they're pre-sheathed?
We do. Yeah. Our exterior panels do come pre-sheathed. Shear walls on this particular project are in the plywood, and everything else is just in that dense glass. If it is a fully non-combustible building, we do sheet steel with our dense glass chip for the shear.
Okay, so you do, and you broke up just a tad, but you do use sheet steel for shear in some cases.
We do, yes, we do. Okay. For shear, for fully non-combustible buildings.
Gotcha. Don't get too muddy. Yeah, you can see. So these panels are, what's your tallest panel?
For this building, I believe the tallest is around 22 foot tall.
And it's
Our
a single
other
panel.
clients that we work for, single panel, we're doing oversized for these, so they're 12 foot wide where we can, and about 20 foot tall.
Yeah. Oh, man, it's so cool. And you can see in the background there how they would do it with a reach fork. They use it very similar to a crane. So what's the temperature there? Is it warm?
It is, sorry, I know you're in Arizona right now. It is about 75. Just had a nice shower come through and cooled us off a little bit.
Wow.
So not really sweating while I'm standing here.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, that's really some neat stuff. You saw in the earlier shots of it, the structural steel. There is a lot of structural steel in this, and I can't imagine what it was like before you started pulling it out of there.
Some of it would already be installed, some of it would be coming soon, but there was, again, I believe the percentage was 40% already, and we're trying to get that to, I think, 80% on the next couple that we're doing.
Is this a financial institution?
It is a financial institution.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know if maybe that had something to do with it, with any of that, but security or you know.
I'm going to say no, because we are able to remove the red iron in the back of house demising wall. Here's a shot of all the red iron that we're additionally going to try to get out of here. A lot of it is our storefront openings. Mm-hmm. There's such a length they need to carry. We couldn't get rid of those yet, but we are having conversations about nesting columns or nesting studs to create essentially the column for your break within your storefront to be able to panelize it and get rid of some of that red iron. So those are options that we're at least talking through so far.
Okay. So how do people get a hold of you if they want to talk to you?
Visit the website, ICS-Build.com. There's an info on there. There's a phone number, or call me directly. I will answer, and we're happy to work through anything and try to figure out a solution.
You're on LinkedIn. Industrialized Construction Services is on LinkedIn. You also have a LinkedIn page?
I do.
Okay. Somebody needs to connect with Kristal, and she can tell you how to build stuff. That's kind of the fun stuff. Matthew can tell you how to draw stuff, and you can tell them how to build stuff. So, well, great. I appreciate you taking the time. Sorry you had to get out and get in the mud. I'm glad we were able to make it happen. So we'll catch up again soon, okay?
That sounds great.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate this, Robert.
Okay. That's it for this series of A Journey Through Industrialized Construction. I want to thank Jason Steele, Matthew Comer, and Kristal Howe for joining us in this series. Watch for what we have coming in the future with these folks. We'll have them back. You know what I say. We've all built it the old way. Now let's go build it better. Thanks. See you next time.